Jesse from Time Magazine is on the phone, and we only have him for a brief bit. He was at Camp Pennsylvania and indeed helped move some of the wounded. Jim, can you add to your reporting from earlier?
Well, right now everything is pretty well calmed down here. The Criminal Investigation Division has taken over everything. They put us out of our tents, and they're now going tent by tent to make sure there's no additional explosives in the area. We have 12 soldiers, maybe 13 soldiers wounded. We're now able to say that one of them has died.
Wow.
But we can't tell you for 72 hours who that is, and the Army has got to release that.
Okay, family, that's because families are being notified. As you're talking, we're looking at some still photos that one of your photographers for Time Magazine shot.
Right.
And this is obviously the scene that you saw. We see people moving through in gas masks. They must have thought at this point that, there was a chemical attack possibly underway?
The standard operating procedure here for a Scud attack is to put on chemical protective gear just in case a Scud does come in that has chemicals. There is a chemical warhead on it, and just as this happened, the Scud alarm sounded. So there was some confusion about whether it was a Scud attack or a grenade attack. So the people were reacting both to the explosions and to the Scud alarms. And about half an hour into this, the Scud alarm sounded again, and we were able to see the Patriots engage in the Scud as it came into the area.
Can you give me your source on the fatality?
No, but it's several people here talking about it, and
okay.
I know it's been, the Washington Post has broken it, so now we're all allowed to talk about it.
Okay. Good enough on that. I'm sorry. How did you know? I know that this is another shot of the suspect we're looking at. In the early reporting, there was very little you could say. Did you know quite early on that, in fact, an American was suspected of doing this?
There was, when it first started, there was a lot of confusion about what was going on, and the immediate assumption was that terrorists had gotten onto the camp in one way or another, and they were holding for a time being two Kuwaiti translators who have since been treated very kindly and released. But there was no assumption there was an American early on in this thing, and then as the different units checked in, one of them said, "We're missing somebody," and this guy had already been identified as someone they had problems with, and that there was 4 grenades missing from his area, so they quickly got a name. And before they stumbled on the soldier in question in a bunker, they already knew who they were looking for. So it took about, from the time of the explosions to the time they knew that they suspected who did it and who was going to be found, who they were going to look for, was about 45 minutes to an hour.
So they mustered everybody up. This one person was missing, and so at that point they must have known, or at least suspected, they had a problem. Do you know anything about the young man?
Just he's a sergeant attached to an engineer company that's attached to the 1st Brigade. He's not technically a 1st Brigade soldier. He's from the engineer unit that's attached to them. They've had some problems with him recently, I'm told, by some insubordination problems, and his unit had decided that they were going to leave him in the stay-behind party and not take him forward when the unit advances into Iraq. So we do know he's got a Arabic-sounding last names, but nobody is saying if he's Muslim or anything along those lines at this point.
Do you know if he or the group itself had been in Afghanistan?
I do not know that about him. I'm almost positive his group has not been to Afghanistan. I don't know any of his personal history.
In this 45-minute period where they were trying to figure out what in fact happened when they did, what was the reaction there? What was it like there when it became clear that they at least believed it was one of their own who had done this?
Well, the reaction initially when this all started was about a minute of chaos, and it took about that long before the sergeants and what I noticed, a major and two captains, and one or both of them were slightly wounded or wounded. Took control of the whole situation, got a security perimeter out in case it was terrorists, made sure that the wounded were being taken care of, got medics. There was, I would say, 3 officers and maybe a half a dozen sergeants that did outstanding work getting everything together. And it was one of those officers going bunker to bunker to make sure no soldier had been left outside forgotten, had stumbled upon the soldier in question. And very few soldiers at that point knew that an American was suspected, but the officer that found him knew and got help, and the soldier was immediately arrested.
Was there, I'm sorry, was the arrest facilitated peacefully?
Yeah, he may have been slightly injured in the leg during his own attack. The officer who found him had a weapon, and there was at least a couple of dozen soldiers within the immediate screaming vicinity. So I had just walked away from that area, and when I walked back, they already had him on the ground in handcuffs and were reading him his rights.
What was your reaction?
It was a long night. Caught by surprise initially because the scuds and the bombs, but
Jim, has there been any suggestion as to what precipitated it? Had there been an incident earlier in the day? Has there been any talk about that?
No, the soldier in question, some of his friends here had said he's been acting strange and pacing around a lot, and that there was some insubordination, that he was just disgruntled. But I have heard of no specific thing. He may have been planning or thinking about this for a long time, but that's going to be for psychologists and others to figure out at a later date.
Where is he now? Is he still on that base?
No, well, to the best of my knowledge, no. Criminal Investigation Division arrived here some time ago, and I believe they have taken him with them. But I don't see him here anymore. But that doesn't mean they don't have him someplace here.
And just as you can describe it, is it your sense now? It's been some hours now. Have people calmed down? Does the General Clark mentioned, I mean, you have to sort of put the focus back together again. Does that seem to have happened yet?
I am sitting here watching the soldiers pack up and the vehicles marshal and an air mission briefing or some sort of briefing going on, and I have no doubt that within the next, that this unit is already back on track and doing what it's supposed to be doing. I mean, they've taken care of their wounded, and they've reestablished command and control, and everything I see here indicates that they are right back on the plan and schedule they were on prior to this event happening. Another, if you ask me, remarkable testament considering the chaos and confusion and the damage caused by this individual, that so many other people have stepped up and taken over and are getting this done.
Jim, thank you. Jim Lacey of Time Magazine. Jim was right there when this terrible thing happened. He helped evacuate, helped move some of the wounded, and he reports to us, among other things, that unfortunately a new lead to this, which is that based on his reporting and multiple sourcing, one of the 13 people who were injured in the attack has now died. We don't know the condition of the other 12. They're being treated. In 2 of them, we believe, are pretty good shape, and this is tape from obviously one of the injured people, and obviously one of the least injured people, since he seems to be up and moving around okay. Arm, maybe, at least when he walked by, it looked to me like maybe his arm was bandaged up, but we'll take a closer look at that again. Again, we see these pictures with you for the first time and react to them. Yeah, his arm's in a sling.
Before you start, it's a criminal investigation is ongoing, so I'm not going to say his name or the fact that he's a Muslim soldier, stuff like that. Okay.
Can you tell us what happened first of all?
I've lost track of time now. I think it was probably about an hour and a half ago, maybe 2 hours ago. I was asleep, and my sergeant major came back and woke me up, and I immediately smelled smoke. Heard a couple of explosions, and a popping sound, which I think was probably a rifle being fired. It looks like some assailant threw a grenade in each of these 3 tents here.
There's again, can we, I don't know if you can go back and isolate that shot. There we go. Ben Lowy of Corbis News Service, working for Time Magazine out there, shot that picture, which may very well appear in lots of places. We don't know. That's the young man who is the suspect in this, described as a young man who has had some problems, was acting according to Jim Lacey's reporting, talking to his friends, who's had a bunch of problems of late. Colonel, I didn't mean to lower your rank. General, we were looking at a colonel there. That tells us something about who was in that tent when this attack took place, because colonel is no small deal in your old line of work.
That's the brigade commander, obviously.
Yeah.
And he said he was not in the tent. He said he was asleep somewhere else and heard it. So whatever happened to his arm doesn't seem like it came from this incident. I don't know.
Okay.
But it sounds like he was. They've got command and control back, and he's got the brigade ready to move, and that's the way it should be.
This is an example from our end of very much real-time reporting. We get this information as quickly as we can, pass it along to you, process it as quickly as we can. But that's a picture that's quite sad to see under the circumstances, particularly under the circumstances of having to report that one of the 13 people who was injured in this tragic incident, as Max Blumenfeld, the PIO, described it accurately, a tragic incident, has now died. It's a little bit past midnight here in the east. We'll take a pause here shortly and update you on the day's major events and then continue on from this side. Heidi Collins joins us now. Heidi.